Today we're going to cut open a pair of regular running shoes and a couple of barefoot shoes so that we can observe the design differences between them and explain how each of these contrasting designs impact our feet and therefore our ability to walk and run in them. Let's get started.
All right, let's cut these babies open. Ooh, check this out. Ready for the big reveal. Let's try that again. Ready for the big reveal. Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I've got a pair of Vivo Barefoots here, and they've got puncture resistant soles. So it's going to be interesting to see how difficult it is to cut open these puncture resistant soles. They're pretty tough, but I thought it would give me a little bit more. Of an issue, to be honest with you. Okay, now I see what the puncture resistant membrane is all about. I'll show you guys in just a moment. Alright. Barefoot shoes reveal. So you can see here, this is the puncture resistant membrane on the Vivos. Quite a hard material. It's almost like a Kevlar type of plastic material. Interesting. Such a thin sole. Unbelievably thin sole. Wow. So, if you guys have seen my video of the world's first barefoot sneaker, these are them, field grounds. Definitely not a running shoe, but still a good barefoot shoe. It's got all the major design qualities a barefoot shoe must have. You can see there, they've got this funny foam inside. Bit dirty, these shoes. Don't ever get white shoes, they don't last long. They always look terrible after a while. Impractical. The Vivos are about the same age, but yet they're still good for another, well, not anymore, but they were good for another year, I reckon, 6 months to a year. I was running in those as well. These are more like casual wear, and they look horrible. Just the white color just doesn't last. Okay. Oh wow. Makes a big difference when you don't have puncture resistant membrane. Look at that. I mean, that was crazy. You don't want to be stepping on a nail with these shoes. That's for sure. But, you know, that's why field grounds give the most amount of ground feel. It's because it's just a thin piece of rubber and some lining. That's about it. Anyway, I've ruined it now, but here we go. Big reveal.
The main differences between regular and barefoot shoes are in the soles. The first example of this is in the heel to toe drop. Regular shoes generally have a raised heel relative to the forefoot. In our example pair, the heel height is about 40 millimeters, while the toe portion is about 20 millimeters. This results in a 20 millimeter heel to toe drop. Building up the heel portion of the shoe with soft cushiony foam enables the wearer to heel strike without feeling the pain of bashing the calcaneus into the ground on each step. However, some even argue that raised heels promote a heel striking pattern because when we flatten our foot parallel with the ground, the heel juts out and will tend to collide with the floor first. Makes sense. Another issue with having raised heels is that the calves and heel cords are held in a slightly shortened position for long periods of time due to the plantar flexed foot position. Consequently, these structures eventually become chronically shortened and you end up with a reduced range of motion in the ankle joints. A simple test to check if you are affected by tight ankles is to try and deep squat. If you can't break parallel with a flat back, or if you feel like you want to fall over backwards the deeper you go down, then it could be that you have tight ankles, and the cause may very well be your choice of footwear. Now, let's look at the barefoot shoes. You'll notice that the minimal design of the soles provide a zero drop from heel to toe, which means that the soles in the barefoot shoes are completely flat. So now there is no cushioning to protect the heel bone from bashing into the ground on each step. But this is not necessarily a bad thing because our brains respond to the pain of heel striking in barefoot shoes by reprogramming our gait cycle to more of a forefoot striking pattern. And as those of you who have been following us for a while will know, a forefoot striking pattern is more efficient and is less likely to cause injury than a heel striking running pattern. I'll link more info about this down below. Additionally, the lack of a raised heel also prevents the Achilles tendons and surrounding musculature from chronically shortening and restricting the range of motion in the ankles. Along the same lines as the heel to toe drop, the overall sole thickness is the next important feature of these differing shoe designs that we need to compare. Regular shoes tend to have a significantly thicker sole than those found in barefoot shoes. A typical running shoe like the one we have here is 40 millimeters thick at the heel and 20 millimeters thick in the forefoot, compared to just 3 to 5 millimeters found in many barefoot shoes. This means that our average running shoe would be between 5 and 10 times thicker than a barefoot shoe, which is a pretty massive difference. So what is the significance of all this? Well, the premise behind thick cushioned soles is that they are supposed to behave like shock absorbers upon impact to give comfort to the wearer even in tough conditions. It's kind of similar to wearing oven mitts, which give us the ability to touch hot trays without burning our fingers. If we maintain this train of thought, barefoot shoes could then be compared to wearing a pair of protective latex gloves over our hands. While they still protect the hands in certain scenarios, they don't really sacrifice one's ability to feel and perform in a precise manner. It is for this reason that surgeons wear latex gloves in the operating room. Now, I know what you're thinking. We don't perform surgeries with our feet, so why would we need to preserve their ability to feel? Well, that's because our sense of balance and ability to move efficiently depends on having good amounts of ground feel. In other words, our body can't react and adjust itself to things it can't feel. It is for this reason that gymnasts don't wear shoes while performing. They need all the feeling they can get to gracefully perform intricate movements. And it's not just for gymnastics that being barefoot is beneficial. For example, you can check out our video on why barefoot running is so efficient to see how the extra ground feel can impact our gait too. But wait, there is another major difference between the soles of regular shoes and that of barefoot shoes, which has further consequences for our feet and movement strategies. That is sole stiffness. So due to the thickness of the soles found in regular shoes, the whole structure becomes stiff. This rigidity is supposed to add stability and support to the feet. However, with barefoot footwear, we see the opposite approach. The thinness of barefoot shoe soles make these shoes super flexible. They therefore provide no support or passive stability for the feet. So what are the pros and cons of each method? Well, the stiffness of regular shoes give our feet stability, which is a good thing, right? Well, it would be if our feet were limp structures unable to support themselves. Instead, we have 26 bones, 33 joints, and 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments in each foot that are meant to actively stabilize the base of our bodies. Therefore, if the shoes do a lot of the stability work for us, then the muscles and connective tissues in our feet would have no real reason to strengthen and would therefore become lazy and weak. A common sign of this is collapsed arches, commonly referred to as flat feet. Shoe manufacturers then have to add extra arch support to their shoes to passively hold up the weak and seemingly paralyzed arches. In this way, we become dependent on these modern footwear designs for support, as opposed to relying on our own inbuilt structures to do the job. Contrastingly, in the case of barefoot shoes, their lack of passive support promotes the active development and strengthening of the foot's internal structures. After all, what's the point of having 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments in each foot and not using them to their full capacity? However, having thin and flexible soles is not all sunshine and rainbows. There is an injury risk when moving from normal supportive shoes to barefoot shoes, especially if one tries to make the switch too quickly. The fact is that our body can't adapt to the lack of support and freedom of barefoot shoes overnight. That's why injury rates have been seen in runners who switched over to barefoot shoes too quickly. So, to minimize and possibly even eliminate this risk, one needs to go through a proper barefoot shoe transition program to prepare the feet and its surrounding structures for the demands of barefoot style gait. This process could be compared to starting a sport like weightlifting. We wouldn't just throw ourselves under a heavy barbell from day one without first working on mobility, technique, and strengthening blatant weaknesses, right? Well, when it comes to barefoot movement, things are no different. This is why we have developed the ultimate barefoot shoe transition program for this exact purpose. The program is based on the latest research and covers everything from mobility to glutes activation and strengthening, proper running technique and foot arch development training, and even has a 24-week barefoot running transition plan. This comprehensive program can be found on our website, which will be linked down below. Okay, moving on. Many running shoes contain motion control features. What motion control features are designed to do is fix certain errors in one's running technique which could lead to injury. So, for example, in the case of overpronation, there are inserts that manufacturers place into the soles of their shoes to block the foot from excessively rolling inwards after impact. However, we know of some pretty big studies, such as the one conducted by the US Army, which found that motion control shoes don't in fact reduce injury like they are expected to. With barefoot shoes, on the other hand, all the barriers have been removed, giving the feet freedom to move in a natural way. The premise behind this is that when our feet have no barriers in their way, we can subconsciously relearn to move the way we are intended to. This natural shift in movement strategies is evident in runners switching to barefoot shoes. For example, they tend to move away from heel striking towards more of a forefoot striking pattern. Another common change is an increase in cadence and a reduction in stride length after switching to barefoot gait. More info on these changes can be found in our video titled Barefoot Running Technique Simplified. The final characteristic to look at is toe box width. During the stance and push-off phases of running, the toes tend to spread apart as if they are being loaded. Now, if you don't have enough space in the front of your shoes, then it does not accommodate this natural toe spread. The whole premise of barefoot shoes is built around trying to allow the feet freedom to react the way they would if they were left unobstructed. This is why we see very wide toe boxes in barefoot shoes and why they are also designed in the shape of the forefoot. The wide toe box is just not commonly seen in normal running shoes. Honestly, I'm not sure why, because it's obviously important. My hunch is that regular footwear manufacturers try to combine fashion with function. That is why we see the narrow and pointed front design of a dress shoe spill over into athletic footwear. However, there is an obvious sacrifice to this. In a nutshell, we could view regular footwear as a snug bed or cocoon for our feet to relax into, whereas barefoot shoes could be viewed as a gym or wide open playground for our feet. Personally, I'm pretty fond of the gym, so I'll continue strengthening my feet and body through barefoot style movement, the way nature intended it to happen. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about all this. Which type of footwear have you found to work best for your lifestyle? Let us know in the comments below. For more health science made simple, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm your host Chris, and until next time, cheers.